If you want to be a reader and you want to fall in love with reading, if you have a friend who wants to fall in love with reading, if you are a reader and want to make people around you read as much as you do, this is the video that will give you some ideas about books that make people fall in love with reading. So without any further ado, let's get into this video. I'll start with a book that I read very lately, and a lot of people know about it already because I've mentioned it once or twice on the channel itself. But the name of this book is Secret by Pseudonymous Bosch. The great thing about this book is that it's very interactive. When you are trying to fall in love with reading, you must be reading interactive books that are not just telling you about things, but actually involving the reader themselves. Now, this book starts somewhat like this. Good. Now I know I can trust you. You're curious, you're brave, and you're not afraid to lead a life of crime. So when somebody is reading this book, when they are trying to fall in love with reading, if somebody, and especially the writer himself, is saying that you are curious, you're brave, and you're not afraid to lead a life of crime, they'll feel much more involved with the book than they would have otherwise. So the author keeps saying, let's get something straight. If, despite my warning, you insist on reading this book, you can't hold me responsible for the consequences. The writer is challenging the reader, and the reader will be like, oh my god, I want to read more. The first chapter of this book is so entertaining, and then there's the next chapter which is written in sort of a code language. It just goes like XXXXXXX. It's really weird and it's very funny. This book is very mysterious. It's about a magician and his diary and a lot of secrets that two children have to discover. So it's extremely entertaining and interactive. So you can guess that almost every book in this list of recommendations is very interactive, because when you want to fall in love with reading, you need to read interactive and entertaining books, not deep ones, because deep ones make you extremely emotional or you just don't finish reading them. So if you're reading entertaining books, you will finish them, and even if you don't, you'll at least enjoy your time and start loving reading. The next book that I have to recommend is thehellyblog by Devdutt Pattanayak. This book is a really amazing book on Indian mythology. The best part about this book is that it's written in a manner of question and answers. Anybody who wants to have a question about mythology answered can just flip to the page. So there are chapters on colors, Shiva, Jeev, Jantu, Indra, boons and curses, heaven and hell. So I have a lot of questions about heaven and hell. So even if I have not read any book in past, I'll just flip to this page where I can find out about heaven and hell. And you can flip to a page which interests you. So there are several questions. Tell us a bit about Swarg and Narak. If you want to know, you can read the answer, and it's very interesting. Who decides whether your karma is good or bad? Which leads me to the question, how is it that Kauravas went to Swarga but the Pandavas didn't? There are so many questions that we all have, and Devdutt Pattanayak has answered them. If you are a curious kind of person and you want to fall in love with reading, this book will help you have that love. Why do we feed crows to pacify our ancestors during a Shraddh ceremony? And he has told that when the crows say ka ka ka, it is an important letter in Vedas. Our alphabet too starts with ka. All questions, Q, kab, kaise, begin with ka. So the crow's cawing is like your ancestors asking you, kya? What are you doing with your life? In the event of death, you are reminded about your life and its purpose. Isn't it very, very interesting? And all the answers are very different from the ones that I've heard till date. Whenever my parents ask me to do a custom, I'm like, why? And this book answers everything. So it's a very good read, even if you are an atheist, because I don't think calling yourself as an atheist very cool unless you know these things. If you are aware of everything and still you decide to be an atheist, that's good. But in case you don't know anything about Indian mythology and are proud about being an atheist, I really think that you are more of an ignorant person. So please read, and then you can obviously form your judgment. Another amazing book that I think will make you fall in love with reading, and a book that made me fall in love with reading, was Charlie and the Chocolate Factory by Roald Dahl. It's an amazing story about this guy who gets the chance to enter a chocolate factory which is full of magic and full of magical things and full of chocolate. It's amazing. And I don't think there's a person who does not like chocolate. If there is, that's not a human being. So if you're reading such a book, you'll feel really great, because we all love chocolates. And if a book has chocolates, you have to love that book too. The best experience will be to read Charlie and the Chocolate Factory while having chocolate. I don't have a copy of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I read it from the library and I absolutely loved it. After Charlie, I read Matilda by Roald Dahl, which was equally interesting. It was about a girl who had a willpower to move things, and it was amazing. So these books will pull you into the world of Roald Dahl, into the world of entertainment and magic, and make you fall in love with reading. Next book that I'll recommend is Letters from a Father to His Daughter. This is an illustrated book. A lot of books that I'm going to recommend are illustrated, because I think illustrated books make you fall in love with reading like no one else, because they are so entertaining to read and watch. And when you have visual aid, it's just an enhancement. I love the pictures in this book. In these letters, a father is telling his daughter about things of the universe. If you have a child whom you want to make aware, this is a perfect gift. Ancient cave paintings. Sometimes I just flip through the pages to see these amazing illustrations. But when you want to fall in love with reading, a little bit of visual aid will just help you do that. Lovely, lovely illustration of the map. I wish our school maps were illustrated in this manner. This is the only work by Jawaharlal Nehru that I've read, and I absolutely love it. And I think anybody who starts reading this can't help but fall in love with reading. In case you are an emotional kind of person, you can give a read to Rupi Kaur's poetry. Rupi Kaur's poetry is not essentially good for those who are into intense poetry, but these are very, very small pieces of poetry with deep meanings, and you can take out any meaning you want to. Let me read out one or two poems. When I hit the rock bottom that exists after the rock bottom, and no rope or hand appeared, I wondered, what if nothing wants me, because I do not want me. It teaches you self-love, and there are so many chapters that teach you different things of life. Rupi Kaur's poetry is absolutely brilliant. If you are not a huge poetry reader, but in case you are, you may not find it very worth your time. I really loved the first book written by Rupi Kaur, that is Milk and Honey. Sun and Her Flowers is not that good, but I don't have a physical copy of Milk and Honey. I only have this one, that's why I'm showing this. But you can read both of them to enjoy and fall in love with reading. As children, all of us have seen Chronicles of Narnia, but you must read the books in case you want to fall in love with reading. It's an amazing series of books which will entertain you till the end. If you're enjoying Chronicles of Narnia, you can obviously read Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. You can read every book by Harry Potter actually, but Chamber of Secrets is my favorite. The thing is, Harry Potter is not a book that I recommend in videos, because everybody knows that it's a book that everybody must read. So yeah, that's also a book that you may read to fall in love with reading. These books that we have already seen as movies in childhood make us fall in love with reading, because we already know what's gonna happen. So it's not like we don't understand. Most of the time people don't like reading because they feel that I'm not understanding what's happening. So these are the books which you can read in order to understand and have a better insight into the literary world. And then you can move on to deep and intense works of literature. Two very fun reads, Diary of a Wimpy Kid and Diary of a Wimpy Vampire. Both are diaries. One is of a regular kid, one is of a vampire. Anytime I'm upset, I go to them and flip through the pages. The illustrations are amazing because it's a diary, come on. I only have this book as a hardcover. It's full of amazing illustrations. It's very funny and humorous, and you'll feel like you're intruding on someone's diary, which is an amazing feeling and may make you want to read more. And The Diary of a Wimpy Vampire is even more creative because it's like of the feelings of a vampire and the myths about vampires that this vampire is going to break. It's absolutely amazing. I have no idea how people get the idea to write such books. I wish that I was the one who wrote this book. But anyway, Tim Collins has, and I'm super jealous of him. But then I really enjoy reading his book, and I highly recommend that you guys also get his books. The next book that I recommend you guys to read is Ghost Stories, and it can be any ghost stories. I recommend you guys to read ghost stories in every video, but I started by reading Goosebumps. Give Yourself Goosebumps is an amazing series where you have to turn the pages and you are in charge of your fate. So the first page will tell you a set of events and then ask you, so maybe the set of events was that you went out of house. There are 2 lanes. Then at the end of the page, it will give you the option. If you want to go to lane 1, you have to go to page 32. In case you want to go to lane 2, you have to go to page 57. So you have to keep flipping through. Say you took lane 2 and you went to page 57. It will tell you what happens to you. Maybe in that lane there was a ghost who comes at you, and then they'll tell that, okay, if in case you want to beat the ghost, go to page 80. In case you don't want to beat the ghost and call for help, go to page 63. And this will just go on and until and unless you die most of the times. Yeah, Give Yourself Goosebumps often just kills you, and it's funny. And sometimes it just gives you a happier ending, but that's really, really rare. And most of the books have more than 20 different endings, and it's absolutely entertaining to read, and I fell in love with reading with that series, so it's very special to me. Last but not the least, I love to recommend you guys Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them. This is sort of a prequel to Harry Potter. Not really a prequel. This was like a textbook for Harry Potter and the students of Hogwarts. And this tells you about different kinds of beasts. There are 3 books actually in this series, which are actually Hogwarts textbooks. It tells you about different kinds of beasts. There's fairy, there's Fooper, which looks something like this. And they have amazing illustrations. There's Okami. I think this is found in India. Yeah, this is found in India. Obviously, these are not true. These are just imaginations which feel so alive. And these, I think, are the books that are going to make you fall in love with reading. All the links to these books are in the description below. All the social media handles where you can follow me are in the description below, but more or less all of them are at @thehellyblog. So you can just go and Google me. In case you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. In case you guys want to send me direct contributions, you can do that using Amazon gift cards and sending them to my email ID, because that's what keeps my channel going. And till my next video, bye bye.